Hey guys, welcome back to Market Watch. It is going to be a wicked awesome week in the market this week. We are coming out with a lot of news that I've been waiting for. Wednesday and Thursday, I think we are going to finally get some good, clear indications of where the market could be going for the next couple of months for the rest of the year. So let's take a look now at Forex Factory. I'm going to show you guys exactly what news I'm going to be waiting for this week. And let's take a look at that right now. So taking a look here at forexfactory.com here once again, Wednesday, September 21st, we have quite a few different things coming out. So we have the BOJ, the Bank of Japan press conference. I think there's going to be a lot of volatility around that to see what the Bank of Japan is coming out with next. Also, later on in the day, we have the FOMC statement and we have the federal funds rate. We have had a lot of discussion going on what the Fed is going to do, and until that number comes out, nobody really knows, and things are going to be a little bit unclear. But whatever happens from that will determine probably how the last quarter of 2016 is going to flow for that US dollar. As well as we are going to have the New Zealand official cash rate change, so we're going to see if that's going to have any change. As well as then Thursday, September 22nd, at 7 a.m. there, we're going to have the ECB meeting where President Draghi is going to speak, and we're going to see about what type of news comes from that and see what Europe has in store for their plans to do with their currencies over the next little while here. So now let's dig into some charts. Let's take a look at what I'm waiting for. I think that we got a lot of good things to look at here this week. I think it's just going to be a little bit of a waiting game to see how the market's going to form with the volatility this week. And hopefully we can break out of some long-term patterns. Hopefully we can get into some good, possibly long-term trades where we're going to have some really, really sexy risk to reward. And we're all going to take that money straight to the bank. So let's take a look now at the Aussie dollar. So now taking a look at the Aussie dollar, I'm first looking at the weekly chart. Beginning of a new week, I want to take the big picture look of what's going on. So I have this upward and this downward sloping trend lines that is now forming this nice wedge. And you guys can see here as over the last little while, the price has been kind of trending between these trend lines and is now getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed some more. This can't go on forever. We're going to have a breakout either to the upside or to the downside. And what I think is we're going to have some strength within the US dollar. And we've been seeing a lot of weakness, a lot of different commodity currencies across the Aussie dollar, the Kiwi dollar, and as well as, the Canadian dollar here. We've seen that too. Car parts and clothes are getting expensive once again. So let's take a look at the daily chart and see what we can dig in and show you guys maybe a little bit what I'm waiting for. So we can see a little bit finer details here on the daily chart. We can see that we got some really good support now on that upward sloping trend line, and we're kind of finding some resistance around that 50 EMA. For the last couple of weeks here, we haven't really seen that 50 EMA hold true as we kind of blew past it in and around the area of right here. But I think that if we can get the breakout to the downside, we're going to come back for a retest. And from there, I think we could have a good trend all the way down to the lows of early 2016 in around that area of 0.68. I think that the market will, for the rest of the year, if we can break to the downside, I think that's where the market is going to kind of head towards here for that last quarter. So let's jump ahead then to the Kiwi dollar here. So taking a look now at the Kiwi dollar, the New Zealand dollar on the weekly chart, we can see that we're probably kind of happening into the same type of situation as the Aussie dollar there. So we've had this really great run up where we've seen some really good strength in the New Zealand dollar. And if we can actually, let's take a look at Fibonacci here right now, and let's see kind of where we're sitting at here for a pullback. So we're pretty much dead set right around this 0.5 fib level. I think this is now the high point of this run up. So on the weekly chart here, a couple weeks ago, we had that high test form. Since then, we've had a little bit of consolidation going on, but we now had that fib retracement. And I want to kind of point out to the higher time frame for you guys here that we've now kind of run into that 50 EMA on the monthly, and as well as if we can get that price to kind of stay where we are right now, we are going to close the month off with that high test after that nice run up. So I think this is the leg up, and I think that if we get some good news around the US dollar here and the month closes good, we're going to see a continuation of this trend back to the downside, and then overall look to make a new lower low. Moving on to the dollar CAD. For the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of bullish activity on the US dollar, and we've seen a pretty good fall in the Canadian dollar and in oil to go along with that. Both oil and the Canadian dollar are tied very closely together. So we're kind of here right up here at a really good area of support and resistance in around the area of 1.32 here. Now I think that if we're going to close up above 1.32, we are going to kind of head into that next leg up, heading into the territory where we were earlier on into the year. So again, we've had some really good momentum coming in from the last 2 weeks, so I feel quite confident that the U.S. and the Canadian dollar, we're going to see some weakness within the Canadian, and this is going to head a little bit higher. So if we can get a nice break above here, possibly a retest on the smaller time frames, then we are going to, it's going to be a really good opportunity for you to get into the market, have your stop loss nice and safe on the opposite side of that area, and hopefully come out with a really nice risk to reward trade. Jumping over now to the euro pound, looking at the daily chart now, we have a possible head and shoulders pattern that could possibly be forming this week. But one thing that I kind of really want to take into consideration is just some of the fundamentals going on right now. We've seen some big sell-offs happening within the pound lately, and with that, we could see some further movement within the euro pound here to the upside. We had a lot of bullish activity here a couple days ago at the close of the week, and I'm really going to need to see some good deceleration before I'm looking to commit to this possible head and shoulders pattern. If the price is going to continue to go up to the high in around the 0.871 area, then this pattern for me is going to be dismissed. But I do want to kind of take into consideration here too, just how significant the area of this left shoulder could be in around the area of 0.8620. So if we take a look back, we can see that we had some really good support and resistance here all the way back in the middle of 2011 and also here in early of 2010. This is a fairly significant area, but I'm really going to want to see a good sense of deceleration within the market here, especially after this big engulfing candle that we had last week. Possibly look for a high test on the daily. But things are really going to be determined here by all that news coming out on Wednesday and Thursday. So from here, I'm just going to be super calm and wait to see what's going on. We've seen a lot of weakness within the pound this past week and some good sell-offs last week. And overall, I think with the uncertainty happening, with all the political struggles that have been going on right now, in the UK, I think that overall the pound is going to head lower, and we could see some rise against other currencies against that here. So taking a look now at the pound and multiple other currencies, we have the pound yen on the left, the pound Aussie on the middle, and the pound dollar on the right-hand side here. Looking at the weekly chart at them all, we can see that we have a very similar pattern developing with the pound here. With a lot of the uncertainty kind of happening within the UK. All of the weeks and yesterday were very, very bearish. And we are kind of coming up to this area where we see some trend lines where we are possibly going to run into a little bit of support. But if we do break these areas, I think that the pound is going to head much lower overall. So my overall bias for the pound this week is that it's going to be bearish. I haven't seen any deceleration yet on the weekly chart here, so I think that we're going to play off some of the momentum that we had in the market in that bearish activity last week. So that's going to wrap up most of it for this week here, guys. I just want to really stress just to be really super careful in around that news that's going to be coming out this week. I myself are probably not going to have any positions opened. I'm going to let the market tell me where it wants to trend over the next little while. I don't want to be too greedy in getting into the market and then that volatility coming to the market really going to play out and hit some of my stop losses, take back all the money that I would have earned. I really just want to be super calm and patient and then plan for my very strategic entries, where I think that overall in the next few weeks we can get some really, really amazing risk to rewards. So we're going to follow up with that on Wednesday on GoTV. I think it's going to be super exciting to see what happens, and I hope you guys join me then. From there, just be super safe in the market and let's put some money in the bank.